you very much. Penalties helped, especially on Will Harris, as Aaron Jones breaks loose. Aaron Jones, he's headed for the end zone, and he's going to be in with a Packer touchdown.
Easy for Aaron Rodgers to just turn around and hand the ball off. Make it hard on this Packer offense if you're the Detroit Lions, and not that easy as we just saw.
And live from the WQAQ studio at Quinnipiac University, you're listening to Infinite Sports Radio on this Tuesday evening. I thank you for joining us wherever you are and however you are. I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder along with the great Ben Upson. We once again thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening, like I just said. A lot of stuff has happened since we last had our show last Tuesday, our first live broadcast in the studio in about 5-6 months. And a lot of crazy things happened over this past football Sunday, and it was for the worst, I would say, to put it lightly. It was the day of the torn ACLs. In the NFL, it was a very tragic day. We'll get into that a little bit later for one of the New England Patriots as well. But it was brutal on Sunday. The amount of injuries that were sustained, especially for half of the 49ers, basically the entire San Francisco 49ers roster, is on the injury report, and they lost a lot of key guys. Now, going into next week playing the New York Giants, I was going to put pathetic in front of the New York Giants, but if you want to talk about how they played in the first half, it was pathetic. So we're going to get into all that with the NFL. We're going to touch upon baseball as the playoffs, believe it or not, are next week. Wild card rounds start, best of 3. The NBA playoffs is picking up steam. We're getting close to the NBA Finals. We're already in the Stanley Cup as the series is tied 1-1 between the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. But, yes, like we've been saying, sports are back. Ben, how are you doing tonight?
Kenny, I'm doing great. Of course, great to be back for yet another week of Infinite Sports Radio. You know, I'm glad you mentioned all those ACL injuries in the NFL this past weekend. Obviously just terrible, especially for the 49ers. You know, no Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's questionable for this upcoming weekend against the Giants. There's still a chance that he'll suit up, but he did not have a torn ACL. George Kittle also might be coming back for the 49ers as well. It's terrible. Saquon Barkley also torn ACL, ripped to the Giants season right there, possibly.
I mean, I think it was pretty much over before that injury.
Yeah, I know.
Which I definitely should have headlined opening up, but it's just so much going on.
Oh, that's okay. There really is too much going on. Raheem Mostert also dealing with what injury was Mostert?
I have it up right now. It was something again, another knee injury.
Oh, okay,
but I think it was an MCL sprain. I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think you're right there. Yeah, but, you know, it was a terrible weekend for the 49ers.
Yeah, it's confirmed he sustained an MCL sprain. But,
right.
You know, having Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas, two key guys on the defensive line going out with torn ACLs, they're fortunate that it was just a sprain. Obviously, this is definitely going to sideline him for a few weeks. But, you know, compared to what happened to their other guys on defense, that was definitely good news.
Yeah, and the 49ers in general, you know, that just takes a huge toll on the team, obviously. And, you know, they could be in trouble, especially losing Bosa on the defense. That's not good at all, obviously. So they could be in trouble. And obviously the NFL has launched an investigation into the turf at MetLife Stadium since, as we know, the 49ers and the Giants are supposed to play each other again this coming Sunday. So I don't think there was anything wrong with the turf. At least I would certainly hope not. But at the same time, it's questionable as to why, you know, you have 2 ACL injuries in the same day. Jimmy Garoppolo going down with an injury. Raheem Mostert going down with an injury.
And Tevin Coleman.
Yes, and Tevin Coleman. And after opening the game too, for Mostert. He had an 80-yard touchdown to open the game. He was untouched by that hideous Jets defense.
And we could definitely use worse words than hideous when it comes to the Jets, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We definitely can. But, yeah, and Malik Hooker, too, the safety for the Colts, he's out for the year also, I'm pretty sure. He was another one with an ACL injury.
Also, Cortland Sutton, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos as well.
Yep. So I'm pretty sure Adam Schefter of ESPN said it last night at the Monday night halftime. There were 7 ACL
As
injuries.
well as, I think, Tavon Young, defensive back for the Ravens, he also suffered a torn ACL as well in the Ravens' victory 33-16 over the pathetic Houston Texans as well. So a lot of ACL injuries.
Yeah, and like Schefter said at halftime last night, and he was like, I don't think I've ever seen, a week that was as worse as this one for ACL injuries. I haven't, personally. It's terrible for the league, for all the guys. I understand, like, there's been no preseason. Training camps were a little bit more limited than what they would be in a normal season, but...
Yeah, a lot of it was virtual.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. It's frustrating for, all these guys who, work so hard to play, the game that they love, and that's football. So, I mean, hopefully, that all these players, especially Saquon, that they can all have a healthy, speedy recovery. And that's all we can say about it, unfortunately. We wish we could snap our fingers and those guys will be back out on the field, but unfortunately, that's just not how that works. And injury is now a big eye catcher here, week 2. And it's going to be interesting to see, Kenny, how, as we progress deeper into the season, what's going to happen. Will there be more injuries? It's very likely.
Injuries are always part of the game.
Right.
But just not at
just
this
bad in 1 week, right? Yeah, I know. Pretty crazy. But we'll see how it progresses as we go on into the season.
And also a couple of other notable injuries. Christian McCaffrey, he suffered a ankle injury, so he's going to miss multiple weeks for the Carolina Panthers, so that's a devastating blow to that offense. The offense for the Panthers, they've been able to move the ball. Teddy Bridgewater's kind of turned the ball over a little bit. That defense, though, is horrendous for the Panthers. So that losing a guy like Christian McCaffrey, especially being taken first overall in a lot of fantasy leagues this year, a lot of high expectations for him, and especially being that safety blanket for Teddy Bridgewater, it's definitely going to be a void that has to be filled. Mike Davis looks like he's going to be taking over that role as the lead back. So we'll see how that goes for the Panthers. And then also Drew Lock, he suffered a shoulder injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's going to be, his estimated timeline of being out is about 2 to 6 weeks. And Jeff Driscoll had to come in and be the backup. Obviously, he filled in for Matt Stafford last season before he got injured and was replaced with David Blau. So, like we said, a lot of injuries. And just unfortunate for the Broncos, especially because I, as many of other people, had high expectations for this team going into the season, and they've just been hit with injury after injury. First with Von Miller, a couple of guys in the defensive backfield got injured last week against the Titans, and now you have Drew Lock going out, and Cortland Sutton, who came back from, I believe, a shoulder injury, and like we said, he tore his ACL. So now guys like rookie Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, the tight end, they got to step up and fill that void for Sutton. So it's just devastating all over the league, the amount of injuries that were that occurred on the field, and hopefully that's the last of it. But there's definitely going to be more injuries as the season progresses. But hey, on the bright side, there was really nothing to report on the COVID-19 front, so that's a good sign that players are taking the necessary steps and the necessary precautions to prevent games from getting canceled or postponed or moved, whatever you want to call it. So that's good. But it's unfortunate that injuries is what's replacing what we would think is a COVID outbreak if anything would happen. It's just very unfortunate.
Yeah, and why did I just lose my train of thought? I don't know. Injuries, yes. No, and obviously despite the injuries, not to overshadow those, because obviously injuries. This was a huge week for injuries, but I tell you what, Kenny, there were really great games out there on the field.
Yeah,
this week.
definitely, and we're definitely gonna get to them. But as you were saying,
and before that, also one more thing, as I'm seeing on the ESPN scores here on the side from tweets, David Newton of ESPN reporting that speaking of COVID, like you mentioned, nothing to deal with COVID, but this has to tie in with COVID. Fans will be returning to Bank of America Stadium for the Panthers' October 4th game against Arizona. So that would be week 4.
Okay.
I think. So there will be a capacity of 7% for venues with a seating capacity of more than 10,000. So about 5,000 fans at the Panthers-Cardinals game October 4th. So there you go.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this is true, but fans were supposed to return to the Superdome next Sunday night for Saints-Packers. I don't know if that's confirmed yet, but I did hear that was the estimated date.
I'll check
for when
on
fans
that.
were supposed to
I don't
return.
think that's happening, but I'll check on that for you. Yeah, I agree, because Saints-Packers is a pretty big deal this upcoming
It's a Sunday night game. I mean, we'll get to the next week games because we want to touch upon. We'll touch upon each game from Sunday. I guess we'll kind of go in order because last week we were kind of all over the place with everything. But obviously, we both sat down and we watched pretty much every game since we're living in the same dorm. We went to the same. We've been going to the same place on Sundays for the past 2 weeks. So we pretty much have watched every game. And on Thursday, we got to see Joe Burrow make his debut in prime time against the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns got a big win, albeit against the Bengals, 35-30. And Joe Burrow looked really impressive. He looked very impressive. He looked very confident in the pocket. Obviously, there was a couple of injuries. CJ Uzama, the tight end, he's out for the season. I believe it was a torn Achilles. So he's out for the year. But when you really look at the Bengals offense, they got an abundance of weapons. Now A.J. Green is back healthy, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Giovanni Bernard, John Ross, and also Mike Thomas, not Michael Thomas, the other Mike Thomas. The Bengals got a pretty good offense. The defense is pretty lackluster. But really, for the Browns, I mean, this is a game they should win. This wasn't a big win. I wouldn't say this is a big win for the Browns and a big win for Baker Mayfield because they really got again, it's just the Bengals. And obviously, Joe Burrow, he played a good game. And Baker did play well, though he did have that costly interception in the red zone that, he's got to fix that. But, Odell Beckham Jr., he made an appearance with that huge touchdown in the very beginning. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they both had big games. That's definitely, I think Troy Aikman said it, or somebody said it. I don't remember who it was, but they could arguably have the best 1-2 punch in football in the ground game. And, hey, that's probably what they're going to have to use. That's probably what they're going to have to rely upon if they're going to be competitive this season because Baker Mayfield definitely has a problem with turning the ball over. And now they're going up against a really good defensive front in the Washington football team. I said the right thing this time. So that's good. So what I take away from this is Joe Burrow looks really good, and the Bengals have found their future franchise quarterback.
Totally agree with that. And also, like you mentioned with the Browns and Kareem Hunt, what a duo at the running back position. You have, Nick Chubb, who, averaged, I think, like almost 100 yards a game last season. And now Kareem Hunt, who obviously has been dealing with some issues in his past, but I'll tell you what, 86 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And between him and Chubb, 210 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was over half the Browns' offense in that Thursday night game against the Bengals. So that's going to be a big part of how the Browns are going to do this year. Because, honestly, I mean, Baker's good, all right? I'll give him that. But he's nothing more than that. And, I mean, it was great that they finally got Odell involved for once in a game. 4 catches,
and they kind
74
of
yards.
got lucky because that touchdown could have been called back because it kind of looked like his knee was down prior to the ball breaking the plane.
Easily could have been called back. You're 100% right. But 4 for 74 with a touchdown. So that's the key, too. If you get, Odell Beckham involved in the game, Jarvis Landry, you have Austin Hooper. I mean, the Browns have the pieces in place, to be a pretty good team this season. But, last year with Freddie Kitchens, that didn't pan out. So far, Kevin Stefanski, it's doing fine right now at the moment. They got blown out by the Ravens in week 1, but it's the Ravens, so it's understandable. And as for Joe Burrow, though, Kenny, you know what? I understand with the NFL, it's about getting wins. But the Bengals as a team are not there yet. Joe Burrow is already there. I mean, this guy is competing at a high level already through 2 weeks, okay? He threw 61 times against the Browns.
Yeah, that was my one complaint is you have to rely on him. I mean, and granted, he did play well, but I think having him throw 61 times, especially in your second NFL start, I think that was a little ridiculous. But also, they were 5 for 5 on 4th down, which I thought was very impressive. It's just, I feel like in your second start, you kind of want to ease his way into a heavier workload. But usually when you're throwing about 60 times, that's usually not a good sign.
But at the same time, Kenny, I don't mind it. I know the Bengals, you'd think with Joe Mixon that they could get a little bit more of a running game than only 46
Yeah, they were getting really
yards.
nothing in the ground game.
They got 68 total rushing yards in that game against the Browns on Thursday. That was hideous. No, but you'd think they could get more effort on the ground. But I don't mind Joe Burrow throwing 60 times. You know what? If that's what it's got to be, that's what it's got to be. I mean,
especially because they were down a lot
right
in the game.
Right. The Bengals were
But
down,
they got us that backdoor cover,
which was
in
huge.
the football spread.
That was huge. They were down. I think the Bengals were down 28-10 at one point, if I remember correctly. I think they were. But Joe Burrow, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, 37 of 61. That's overall a pretty good day for a rookie. But I'll tell you one thing, Kenny. I don't know if you saw it, but after the game, everyone was, ragging on him because he pulled off, this 6 spin move at LSU. And he had a welcome to the NFL moment,
yeah,
where he tried that out and it didn't work out so well for him.
I believe that was
it was Sheldon Richardson.
Yeah, it was Sheldon Richardson.
Sheldon Richardson with the
Jets. Remember Jet fans and
Burrow tried to do his.
Remember Sheldon Richardson?
Oh yeah, I know. Take a trip down memory lane there. No, but that's a welcome to the NFL moment right there. You're not gonna get away with that in the NFL, Joe. At least not yet. I'm sorry, dude. Unless you're Lamar Jackson, and you can do that maybe in a couple of years, but not in your second game in the NFL. A lot of defenders will be able to read that. But Joe Burrow, through 2 weeks, I give him a B+. You know what?
Yeah, he's looked very good.
He's doing pretty good. The Bengals aren't a winning football team. They won't be a winning football team this year. But they've come pretty close in their first 2 games, not going to lie. And, speaking of coming close, there's another team out there that I think we both know who came close on Sunday. I think you might want to elaborate on that, Kenny.
That came close. Yeah, that's right. Are we talking? Well, there's a lot of games that came close. Are we talking about our team? Or are we talking about a team that that came close to winning and blew another large lead? Which way are we going here?
Oh, Kenny, I'm talking about our team,
Yeah,
of
okay,
course.
all right. Okay.
Our New
Well, we'll
York
get to
Football Giants.
Yeah, so we're going in order here because I have it up on NFL.com.
No, that's
but
fine.
actually, the Giants were next.
They were. Hey, I didn't even know it. Look at that.
And then after that, we'll get to the other team that blew another 20-plus point lead. Anyway, so let's get to our New York Giants.
And that team's blown a 20-plus point lead before. Hint, hint.
Yeah. So, let's talk about our Giants. So, our Giants in the first half, Saquon Barkley, torn ACL, out for the year. Really upset about that, especially because of the kind of player that he can be. But, also, he's really our focal point, and the offense is supposed to revolve around him. And now we don't have that, so now we're going to be relying upon Dion Lewis, Wayne Gallman, and the Giants just signed Devontae Freeman today, former Falcon. So,
which is a good pickup for this.
It is a good pickup. He's definitely had a couple of down years these past couple of years, so hopefully this kind of lights a fire under him and kind of makes him look closer to the 2016 Devontae Freeman that was a two-time Pro Bowler. Anyway, so the Giants looked absolutely pathetic in the first half. 0 points in the first half. They just looked completely abysmal. Daniel Jones, I believe he had 2 turnovers in the first half, the interception and the fumble, which, of course, with Daniel Jones, and I supposedly called it. I said that somebody would have a strip sack on him on Sunday, and that's exactly what happened. And an interception. He was fortunate that the second interception that he threw got called back for pass interference, I believe. So
correct. Yes, that was right.
And that would have been a pick 6 by Eddie Jackson. So we were fortunate the Giants were fortunate to catch a break there. But I mean, everything about them in the first half, they looked so pathetic, so putrid. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky had like all the time in the world, and both touchdowns in the first half came on third down. That's just unacceptable. I mean, these plays, the Giants were able to. The Giants just let Trubisky just do whatever he wanted in the first half. It was pathetic. But then in the second half, the Bears didn't score. Giants were able to get back in the game, and it came down to the final drive, and they looked like a competent football team. And I think that's a credit to the coaching staff. The coaching staff is definitely a lot better than it has been in years past. But, again, it's the same result. We're still getting losses. We're not getting in the win column. And I want to start seeing wins. Now, I like Joe Judge. He's saying all the right things. He seems like he is an NFL head coach. But we got to get some wins at some point. And next week might be the perfect opportunity to, because a banged-up Niners team is coming back here. And maybe that's a win. Maybe. But I want to see this team win. And so far, we haven't seen that.
No, we haven't, Kenny. This game on Sunday was a tale of two halves, like you mentioned. I mean, and this stat right here will tell you all you need to know. The Giants were 3 of 13 in the game on third down. Take a guess what the Bears were.
The Bears on third down were...
Without even looking. Take a guess.
The Bears were probably, I don't know, 7 of 8?
No, actually 9 for 16.
Okay, all right. That was a
but still that's
putrid guess.
That's over 50%, just slightly. And that's terrible. The Giants could not stop the Bears on third down in the first half. They had no shot in that first half. I thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought the Bears would have won that game like 28-3. That's what it was looking like at half when they were down 17-0. But listening to Joe and Evan on WFAN Sports Radio of New York yesterday, they brought up a very interesting point that I want to share. Joe said that, when the Giants were down 17-0 and they got the ball back with about, 45 seconds, I think they only had like one timeout. And they tried to get points. They drove it down the field and they got, into field goal range. Unfortunately, Graham Gano missed a 57-yard attempt. 58.
But he'll make a 64-yarder agast the Giants.
Against us, yeah, of course. Flashback to 2018.
Yeah, that's always how that goes.
No, but it's a good point that he made in that, so many head coaches would think, we're down 17-0. We have nothing going right this half. There's only 45 seconds left. Let's just sit on it, take it to the locker room. But not Joe Judge. Joe Judge wanted to go to get points. All right? And I agree. Joe said he applauded him for that. And honestly, it's really good that, Joe Judge wasn't going to quit on those last 45 seconds. It's just a little minimal thing in the Giants' game plan, but at least they tried to get points before the half. And then, like you said, Kenny, that second half was great. A miracle interception by I'm pretty sure it was James Bradbury.
Yeah, that was a great play.
It wasn't even Julian Love, or was it James Bradbury?
I think each of them had one.
Okay,
Bradbury had the one where I think it was Allen
was
Robinson he was covering, and Bradbury wasn't even looking at the ball, and he kind of just, once it came down, he kind of just grabbed it away from Robinson.
It was a beautiful interception.
I think the Julian Love one that you're talking about, I think that one was tipped.
Yes, that was the one that was tipped, right. I was thinking about the one on the sideline. That was Bradbury.
And the Giants did apply pressure. They had, I think they had 4 sacks in the game, I want to say. Yes, 4 sacks. One by B.J. Hill, one by Lorenzo Carter, one by Fackrell, and then one by Blake Martinez. So
they did.
The defenses looked in these first 2 games, albeit against Mitchell Trubisky, the defenses looked competent. It looks good.
Yes, the defense has been okay. All right, that's what I'd give it right now. Unfortunately, they could not stop David Montgomery, though. 16 carries for 82 yards on the ground, and then those 3 catches for 45 yards and that 1 touchdown that should not have been a touchdown. That was a poor effort by the defense there. Bears were at like the 25-yard line, around there. Trubisky threw a lob pass to the right sideline to Montgomery, and he cut back to the middle of the field. Giants defenders missed him left and right, and he easily got in the end zone.
Then there was the one
that was a bad play.
And then there was the one right before half to Darnell Mooney. Never heard of this guy before, where Trubisky basically had all day to throw, and got him in the back corner of the end zone for a touchdown. Well, he's able to come back for the ball, get the touchdown, and they were up 17-0 at that point. And it looked like a long day for the Giants, but again, they were, to their credit, they were able to come back and make it a game. They got down in the red zone, but they weren't able to convert. And if you wonder if Graham Gano makes that field goal right before the half, do the Giants?
What if the Giants could have won that game?
Did the Giants come away with that?
They could have. The Giants had a chance. You know what? I commend Jones, Judge, the coaching staff, the defense. It was a great second half. It really was. It all things considered. The first half was just atrocious, and that was really the difference in the game. And the Bears converting on almost every third down under the sun, basically. So overall, look, Jones had them in position to end the game, or to end the game, to win the game. That's what I meant to say. At the 10-yard line, it was like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. It was around there, the last play of the game. So, you know what? The Giants were in position. And, unfortunately, they came up short. And it's just one of those games that bites you, as one you could have won. And even Joe Judge said it after the game. He said, we fought back, but now it's about winning games. And that's exactly it, Kenny. This is the time right now. The Giants need to find a way to win a game. I'm not looking, for them to win the next, consecutive weeks. I mean, obviously we have they have the 49ers, the Rams, and the Cowboys ahead on that schedule. But report card for the Giants this week, and I gave them a C+ against Pittsburgh. That was a little generous. I'll give them a B. All right, but that first half was basically an F on all cylinders. But that second half redeemed them. Giants get a B for week 2.
Now, one thing that we did talk about a couple times over the last couple of days is now with this injury, what is the future for Saquon Barkley? And I'm going to say right now, I was listening to the Michael Kay show, and honestly, I kind of agree. I think there comes a point in time where it's just not working out with Saquon Barkley. Now the torn ACL. Last year he missed a couple of games. As tough as it sounds, I think the Giants should trade him. Because I think we've seen now with running backs, especially when you look at Todd Gurley, for example, the guy had maybe 3 good years, and then after that he lost the explosiveness. And now he's on the Falcons, and right now it's not working out for him. and it seems like the explosiveness is gone. And I just think at some point, Saquon was drafted because the Giants believed that they had at least one more run left in them with Eli Manning. They brought back most of the guys on defense from 2016. They had Barkley, they had Odell Beckham Jr., Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Eli. The offensive line was a mess and is still a mess today. The offensive line, in terms of pass blocking, is all right, but run blocking was awful, and that's definitely part of the reason why Saquon is out for the season. But I just think when you look at Saquon, the Giants right now are not in a position to compete for a championship. And Saquon Barkley, his talent over the past couple of years has been wasted. And now this was his third year. Now that's all gone. He obviously his rookie season, he played the whole year. But at some point, Saquon's going to not have... His best years are going to be behind him. And it's like, when are the Giants going to be in a position to compete for a playoff spot and compete for a championship, and at the same time have Saquon's explosiveness and ability to take over a game?
The Giants are probably, in all honesty, I think they're probably 3-4 years away from seriously competing.
Okay, so you say that. So now Saquon is what, 24 years old right now, 23? So by then...
I'll check on that. I think he's 23. Yeah, he's 23.
Yeah, so by then he's going to be 27.
Right.
And, running backs, they tend to age very quicker because of the wear and tear of running in between the tackles and all of that.
And not to mention, Saquon's not on a huge contract yet, correct?
He's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah, and he's going to want that money soon.
Yeah.
As do a lot of running backs. We saw it with Dalvin Cook. We saw it with Todd Gurley and Alvin Kamara, too, this past offseason. And the running backs, it's such a vulnerable position because now that Saquon's got this ACL injury, it's tough to come back from an ACL injury sometimes, depending. Now, he's young. He'll heal quick.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, Saquon will probably be fully healed by the spring. Well, that might be a little early, but still, he'll definitely be ready and back to 100% for sure, before next season. And Kenny, I'll weigh in on this. Now that you've really brought it up to me about, the Giants and trading Barkley, honestly, why not? Obviously, it's gonna, suck without, Barkley on this team. But there's still options out there, of course, for the Giants. I mean, maybe Devontae Freeman now coming to the team. I mean, I know he's not as good as he has been in the past, but what if he, shows some signs of his 2016 season, like you were mentioning, and maybe the Giants sign him for another year or two after the season? I mean, who knows? And not to mention, trading away Saquon would probably bring the Giants a lot of, draft picks and, other...
It's got to be for the right cost, though.
Right.
They can't just go and, like, Odell and just get fleeced and, not get anything good from it.
Right.
Though
exactly.
I think they used those draft picks to get Dexter. I think Dexter Lawrence was used in the Odell trade.
Yes.
Jabril Peppers is a nice piece. And
Zeitler is nice on the offensive
exactly.
line, too. But, no, like you said...
Peppers was in the... I think Zeitler was in the Vernon trade, the Olivier Vernon trade.
Yes, you're right. Zeitler was in the Vernon trade. Yeah, I know. There's too many trades, too many pieces.
With the Browns, yeah.
Yeah, too many pieces. No, but back to what you were saying, though. It's just a matter of they got to get... You're right. They got to get something really good in return. Obviously, do I want Barkley to get traded? No, of course not. And I'm sure you probably don't want to either.
No.
But, it should be a consideration for the Giants. And... I was reading, too, the other day after the game from Jordan Rannon, who's the beat writer for the Giants, I think, from ESPN. If the Giants really can't show any, good direction by this offseason, if the team goes, 4-12 again, which is a possibility, of course, the way now with all these injuries, and without Barkley especially, like, what about Dave Gettleman? Dave Gettleman could very well be gone.
I think he should be gone.
He should.
Listen, he when he first came in, his job was to rebuild that offensive line, and he has not done that. He has done a very poor job at doing that. Obviously, there are some nice pieces. Obviously, it's still early. We haven't seen guys that they drafted other than Andrew Thomas, who basically got thrown into the fire now with Nate Solder opting out for the year, and that was one of Dave Gettleman's signings. Nate Solder was a waste of money. Definitely should be cut after this year. I don't know if his contract's up, whatever, but he needs to be gone. They brought in Zeitler. They drafted Will Hernandez. And the offensive line is still terrible. It's still the weakest link of the team. And I obviously I don't want to see Saquon get traded, but I think it's in the best interest for him and the best interest in the Giants, because when are we going to be competitive? By the time we're going to be competitive, Saquon's explosiveness is going to be gone. And also people have argued that, he's kind of a home run hitter running back. He doesn't really run well in between the tackles. He has like those home run hitting plays where he has one or two really good runs where you're like, wow, that was amazing. And then for the rest of the game, he doesn't really do anything. Like his final stat line doesn't really, show, how he performed in the game, because there's always like that one like 50, 75-yard run. He had a couple of those, one against the Eagles last season. He had one against the Redskins last season. He had one opening night versus opening kickoff versus the Cowboys. Other than that, he's not like a Derrick Henry that runs in between the tackles and is able to bulldoze through a bunch of people. He's not that kind of guy. And obviously on opening night on Monday night versus the Steelers, he had that one good play that was the screen pass that went for a lot. When he gets into the open field, he's very dangerous, but he can't do that if he's got nobody blocking for him. And he definitely had to do a better job of pass protection, because there was a couple times he, basically just whiffed and the guy just killed Daniel Jones, especially, against the Steelers. But not to bash him, because obviously, he has getting injured on Sunday. But, it's just those things where you're kind of hoping this was the year Saquon was going to break out. And in the first game, it didn't show that. And obviously, the injury on Sunday. So hopefully he comes back next year. He comes back fresh. Hopefully the offensive line is better by the time he comes back, so he's able to gain yardage rather than losing him, because the amount of times that he would get the ball and just get absolutely crushed at the line of scrimmage, or even way behind the line of scrimmage, was it was pathetic on the Giants' part. And hopefully he comes back better. I really hope he does, because you don't want to see him go down, especially because of all the expectations for him going into the season. And just like that, he's gone.
Yeah, it sucks. It really does that Saquon is gone for the rest of the season. And now the Giants will have to turn to Dion Lewis, Wayne Gallman, and now Devontae Freeman. So, not terrible options.
It could be worse. Considered. It definitely could be worse. We could have had Orleans Darkwa or Peyton Hillis.
Or Penny, or whatever that guy's name is.
Oh, well, Eli Penny, the fullback.
Penny.
Yeah.
He's not on
or
the
Andre
team.
Brown, or...
Andre Brown.
I'm trying to think of other obscure Giants running backs. I think Darnell Scott. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm trying to think of Darnell Scott, Rashad Jennings,
Perkins,
Paul Perkins. There we go.
Yeah,
Paul Perkins. I can't think of anybody else. I think that's it. I think that's it for now. But I'll think of names
basically
as the night goes on. But
basically that, yeah.
But I think right now we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss a very wild game, to say the least. I know Ben's said he wants to go off on the Falcons. So when we come back, we're going to discuss the Falcons-Cowboys game and a couple of other games around the league. So stick around. We'll be right back here on Infinite Sports Radio.
And I thought that, 28-3 was bad. Oh, boy.
The soundtrack of Quinnipiac. It's the Q for Common Radio. 98.1 WQAQ.
Greg Zuerlein from 46 to win it for Dallas. Hold is down, kick is up, and it is good! Somehow, some way, the Cowboys have won it!
Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons. Where do we begin, Kenny, with what went down in Dallas on Sunday? Seriously, where do we begin?
Okay, so first thing I want to say is we both had the Falcons in the spread pool. I think going into this game, we anticipated this was going to be a very high-scoring game, which it was. It was a very, very high-scoring game. But the outcome is not what we wanted, and definitely not what the whole country wanted, because now we have to hear another week of the Cowboys and them being relevant again. The Atlanta Falcons, like you just said and repeated. Listen, what can you say? In the first half, 29-10, you're thinking Falcons are going to win this game. For me, though, even when they were up that big, I was like, you know what? This game is still not over yet. It's still not over yet. They got to put them away. And it just seemed like, especially in the second half, they just did not put the Cowboys away. And obviously there was that costly play that really basically changed the whole complexion of the game when Russell Gage, obviously they did those plays with Mohamed Sanu when he was there. He threw a nice pass, for a wide receiver up to Julio Jones, who is arguably the best receiver in football. And Julio drops it. And right there, that was probably the turning point in the game, because the Cowboys, they outscored Atlanta 30-10. And yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan had a nice game, threw for 273 yards, 4 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, how good has he been? 7 receptions, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. They got 2 wide receiver ones on that team between him and Julio Jones. And obviously Hayden Hurst, he had a nice game, the tight end that they signed for Baltimore this offseason. 5 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. But that defense is terrible for the Falcons. It is awful. And the Cowboys' defense is awful, too. They got some stuff they got to worry about, too. Obviously, right now, the Cowboys should be 0-2 right now. They should not be 1-1. Mike McCarthy has not done a great job over these past 2 games as the new head coach for the Cowboys. Obviously, there was a lot of questions being thrown at him for the play calling against the Rams last week. And, this defense is just awful for the Cowboys. I mean, they got gashed in all facets. Obviously, Todd Gurley, he was kind of held in check. He got the ball 21 times for only 61 yards. And that's just, like I was saying before about the explosiveness, Todd Gurley just, again, it's only 2 games, but right now it doesn't look so good for him. But, looking at some of the stat lines for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, who's looked really good these first 2 games, he had 6 receptions for 106 yards. Amari Cooper, 6 receptions for 100 yards. Michael Gallup had that one big catch in the second half. Dak Prescott, 34-47 for 450 and a touchdown. But, the biggest thing was that onside kick. And the Falcons, on Thanksgiving night last year, recovered 3 onside kicks. 3. Now, they didn't win the game, but they recovered 3. And then on this onside kick that the Cowboys had to do, because, obviously there was about a minute left in the game, and, they're down 39-37, and they don't have any timeouts, so they got to get the ball back somehow to try to, stay alive and win the game. And, the Falcons should have realized you could jump on the ball even if it doesn't travel 10 yards, and they didn't do that. They all just stood there, and the Cowboys were like, hey, let's take it. Cowboys get the ball, go right down the field. Greg Zuerlein kicks the game-winning field goal, and the Cowboys escape with the victory. And the Falcons, they're not going to have a good year. They are not going to have a good year. I feel very bad for Matt Ryan and Julio Jones that they got to go through this with this team. I mean, Matt Ryan has been doing amazing these past 2 games, and they got nothing to show for it. And it definitely all goes back to that Super Bowl where they blew that huge lead versus the Patriots. They just have not been the same team since. And Dan Quinn is definitely going to get fired. There's no question about that. You think Atlanta finishing strong, they would come out and, at least be 1-1, but it doesn't look good for them. It looks like another bad season on the way for the Falcons.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Yeah, that's
very accurate.
That's
very,
what
very
the
accurate.
Falcons should be saying after this game. All right. You guys put up 20 points in the first quarter. All right. It was all Yun Hoi Koo who capped it off. It's like, all right, 20-0. You'd think after a quarter, this game would be, boop, early lock. The Falcons were on their way to, being 1-1, Kenny. But no. Instead, what does the team produce after that? Well, let's see. Let's do the math here from the stats. So, after that, so they did score a touchdown at the half, or a touchdown and a field goal before the half. Okay, so it was 29-10 at the half. And like you said, 30-10, they outscored them. That's inexcusable. So in the second half, Falcons went punt, touchdown, field goal, punt. And those 2 drives that they punted, they managed 40 yards of offense in those 2 drives. On the touchdown, the field goal drives, okay, 140 yards. That's great. But how do you let the Cowboys come back into it? Yeah, I mean, the Falcons were up. They went up 39-24 with 7:57 left.
Yep.
That's crazy. I mean, how do you blow that big of a lead? And all right, let's look again at the onside kick. So, if you watch this play really carefully, so the ball's lying, flat. Zerline just literally, gives it a little kick, and in the area there, it looks like I can't even tell who's around there for the Falcons. It's so hard to tell, but Julio was in the area. I don't know. It's so hard to tell. There were 4 Falcons in the area when this ball was kicked. I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 Cowboys with them, and then there's 2 behind the other 2 players there for the Falcons. Dive on that ball. The Falcons literally, they look like Craig Kimbrell with the hangman. They're like, what do we do? I don't know. I mean, come on. I mean, you guys should know that you can dive on the ball. All right, it's okay, but nope. Dallas, stole that, and now another week of Skip Bayless. My Dallas Cowboys are the best NFL team in the world. Well, no, they're not, Skip. So, how about you keep quiet, buddy? Because the Cowboys shouldn't have even won this game. They looked pretty bad in the first half. They got lucky. The Cowboys got so
Yeah, they had a lot
lucky.
of turnovers in the first half, too.
Yeah,
Dak
and
fumbled, Zeke fumbled, which you never see. The tight end fumbled, Schultz. It was just an abysmal first half for the Cowboys. And, give them credit. They came back at the expense of how horrible the Atlanta Falcons are.
I'm not giving the Cowboys any credit. This is the Falcons' defense. The Falcons' defense is so bad.
Yeah. Cowboys' defense is really bad, too. What happened to them?
Yeah.
DeMarcus Lawrence, where are you? Jalen Smith. Obviously, Van Der Esch is out. I mean, where are these guys? Alden Smith, who they brought in, who was out for, obviously with all the domestic violence and the substance abuse, all of that stuff. Where were you? Like, where? Like, they're just so bad on defense.
And down the stretch, Dak Prescott throwing it up to Amari Cooper, that deep ball that he hauled in one-handed, basically. And we notoriously love to call Amari Cooper Dak Prescott's side. Beep. Censor myself. So, look. All right. You know what? Whatever. The Dallas did come back. Okay. You know what? Maybe I'll give them 5% credit, Kenny. You're right. You know what? They get 5% credit.
They get some credit.
I hate...
Because most teams would have just, all right, it's just not our day.
But I think nothing pleases us more, though, than at the end of the game to see Jerry Jones look so depressed. We love it when Jerry Jones isn't happy. And he was, woohoo, cheering away up in that box of his that, that's probably, $150K worth of stuff. But, besides that, the Dallas Cowgirls, yet again, get lucky, bailed out. And now they're tied atop the NFC East with the Washington football team. How about that?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But you know what? Hey, they're playing Russell Wilson next week. That's going to be a huge game for them. So
good luck.
So a team that's, not going to do the same thing most likely. But, just going around the league, obviously Tom Brady, he got his first win as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, 31-17 over the Carolina Panthers. He wasn't really that impressive from what I saw, but definitely a good way to get, just get your first win, get that bad taste out of your mouth from last week against the Saints. So the Bucs are in the win column, and that's big for them. Obviously, as we talked about earlier, Christian McCaffrey is going to be out for a couple weeks for the Carolina Panthers, so that's going to be huge for them. But, hey, step in the right direction for the Bucs. Definitely. So there was that. The Tennessee a game that turned out to be really good was the Tennessee Titans defeating Jacksonville Jaguars, Minshew Mania, 33-30. Gardner Minshew is the real deal. The fact with this kind of roster and you put up 30 points against probably the best team in the division. Obviously, I had the Colts winning the division, but I don't know. Right now, it looks like it's going to come down to either Tennessee or Indianapolis, and you beat Indianapolis last week. Gardner Minshew is legit, and I take him seriously, and I think that, as long as the Jacksonville Jaguars do not get the first pick and draft Trevor Lawrence, Gardner Minshew is the guy. It really seems like that. And you know what? Hey, we're going to see Thursday night. Fitzmagic versus Minshew Mania, which Fox was, heavily advertising.
Oh, goodness.
Over the weekend and on Thursday night.
Because they know that Dolphins-Jaguars isn't necessarily a good appetizer to eat on a Thursday night with so much other stuff going on. But, yeah, Kenny, we were writing off Gardner Minshew and the Jaguars in general over these first 2 weeks, and they outright defeat the Colts, and they fall to the Titans by 3. The Jaguars, watch out, because this team, I love what I'm seeing right now from them. And like you said, look, Gardner Minshew, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns this past week against the Titans. And then against the Colts in week 1, how about another 173 yards with 3 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns through 2 weeks and over 500 passing yards. That's great numbers. I think Jacksonville was hoping, to see the Jaguars just be a competitive team out of the gate. But they've exceeded that. And, they are a really good football team from what I've seen through 2 weeks. It's still early, though. Obviously, they play the Dolphins this week on Thursday. Then they get the Bengals in week 4, followed by the Texans in week 5. So winnable games coming up for them. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I think you're right. Everyone wrote off Jacksonville too early. Everyone was thinking, 0-16 for this team? Not so much. And maybe, just maybe, they have a chance to get 6 or 7 wins Just a
will
little
see.
foreshadowing.
We will see. We're just going to take a 30-second break to play the top of the hour. We'll be right back here on Infinite Sports Radio. All right, we're back. So let's continue our football discussion. So obviously, yes, the Jaguars, Gardner Minshew, he definitely seems legit. Going around the league, let's talk about my guy Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. So Packers, again, second week in a row, highest scoring offense, 42 points. And they defeat the Detroit Lions 42-21. Devontae Adams, another notable injury, was out with the hamstring. He was urging Matt LaFleur to get put back into the game, but I guess because of how big the Packers were up, they figured, let's not risk it. So right now, I think he's going to play next week. Big Sunday night matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints should be a great game. I'm so excited for that. Rodgers and Breeze probably for one more time. But right now, the Packers look really good. And I know it's come against the Minnesota Vikings, who were pathetic on defense, and they were pathetic yesterday. Pathetic against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. But the offense just looks a lot better than it did last season. And especially because, back-to-back weeks you're scoring 40 points. I mean, we haven't seen this from Green Bay in a long time. And it's definitely encouraging, and it's definitely encouraging going into next week against the Saints. And I give the Packers a great shot to win that game. And hopefully Adams comes back and plays in that game. Other than that, it'll be next man up. Valdez-Scantling, he's had a good start to the season. Allen Lazard. A lot of drops, though, from the tight ends, what I noticed. So hopefully they get that stuff corrected. And you know what? Green Bay's 2-0. And at least, with them and my dad's Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0 as well, that makes up for the Giants being 0-2. But right now the Packers look really good, and I'm anticipating them to put up a really good fight against the Saints on Sunday.
Yeah, once again, I'm stuck on loser island this year. Thank you, Giants. Thank you. No, but Packers, I loved that Aaron Jones stole the spotlight for once because,
Well, I would argue that a lot last season he did steal the spotlight last year.
Yes, that's true, but it's always good though. I'm saying that just in general, you know, like when Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to necessarily heavily work to
exactly.
I mean, he still went 18 of 30, 240 yards with 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good day. But Aaron Jones, obviously that 75-yard rush made up for the 75 of those 168 yards on those 18 carries and 2 touchdowns. What a great day for him. 259 yards on the ground for Green Bay total on Sunday. Blew out the Lions, which they're not looking so hot, I'll tell you that much, the Lions. Could they be 0-16 like they were in 2008?
I don't think so.
No, they're not that bad.
No, they're not 0-16.
I tell you what, Kenny, Minnesota is going down the chute quick through these first couple
They
weeks.
look like the worst team in the division right now in the NFC North. They look absolutely pathetic.
It's surprising to me. I thought the Vikings would be challenging the Packers for the NFC North down the stretch.
But right now it's Rodgers and Trubisky.
Oh, goodness. Oh, Lord, save us all from that, please. No, the Bears will fall off, I think, anyways. I don't know about them. 2-0, that's a little bit of a fluke to me. The Rams look great. I think everybody's written them off a little bit too quick. I know it's the Eagles. Not a huge deal.
But they definitely look like they got their identity back. And they look like the Rams from 2 years ago and the beginning of last season.
Yes.
As opposed to how they finished.
Yeah, and it's great to see.
Season.
It's great to see Jared Goff, having a good game too. He had 3 touchdowns in this game against
all the Tyler
Philly.
Higbee.
Yeah, all of them to Tyler Higbee. What
the
a
tight
day.
end.
What a day for him. Definitely it's great to see the Rams, and they face the Bills in what will be one of the headliners next week, of course.
Yep, and the Bills, they got the victory over the Dolphins, 31-28. That's definitely going to be a huge test for them going up against the Rams. Right now, I would say the Rams are going to win that game. Josh Allen's definitely had a little bit of trouble with the turnovers, but you know what? Hey, Stephon Diggs looks very good. I do like the Bills, and I think that Josh Allen is going to get better as the season progresses. He's definitely got a very good array of weapons that he has at his disposal. The defense was a little shaky, albeit because, the Dolphins, as much as a lot of people like to rip on them, they are a pesky team, and they were last season, and it's a divisional game. That's definitely a factor that plays into why the game was pretty close, and obviously there was that backdoor cover at the end for the Dolphins. Obviously, I had the Bills, but, so 31-28 final score. And then, like we touched upon before with the injuries, the 49ers just absolutely killed the Jets on Sunday. The Jets look like a team that could go 0-16.
They are the worst team in football, not by a narrow margin, but by a mile.
Yeah,
they are so bad.
Yeah,
it's not even funny.
Yeah, they are really bad. They got nothing going for them. I mean, when Frank Gore is your leading rusher right now, and you got a guy by the last name of Barrios, I think.
Braxton Berrios.
Yeah, catching I believe the only touchdown in the game. It's pathetic. The Jets are pathetic.
I said it to you off the air, before we came into the studio tonight, Kenny, that Adam Gase needs to be gone. He needs to be gone if the Jets can't win next week, which they probably won't, because they play the Colts, which, by the way, the Colts are 10.5 favorites. So what does that tell you about how bad the New York Jets are?
Yeah,
Adam Gase needs to get out of New York. They need to clean house, do something, because Jets are so bad. And hopefully they get the number 1 pick, because they could use Trevor Lawrence. I'll tell you that much.
They will take Trevor Lawrence with that first pick.
Oh,
they should.
Will.
I mean, then again, it's the Jets, so you never know.
If they don't take Trevor Lawrence, assuming they get the number 1, it's still too early to say that, but assuming they do, because that's how bad they look right now. If you don't take Trevor Lawrence at number 1, Jets, you might as well just get demoted to the CFL, because this is a joke.
Or the XFL. Hey, XFL might be coming back this year.
It's terrible. Joe and Evan were saying yesterday, actually, Kenny, too, that the Jets look like they don't even belong in the NFL right now.
No.
That is how much of a joke they are right now.
No, it's
terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It is terrible. And
Absolutely terrible.
And I think this is the last 1:00 game. I don't know if Steelers and the Broncos. Steelers getting the win, 26-21. Roethlisberger, he looks pretty good. He looks like he's settled in. The Pittsburgh defense definitely kind of was bending a little bit, and which was kind of crazy, especially with Jeff Driscoll having to come into the game after Drew Lock suffered the shoulder injury that'll sideline him for a couple of weeks. But you know what? Hey, that showed how the Broncos they are a good team. The Broncos. It's just the injuries are just killing them.
Yeah,
and it kind of shows once again the Steelers' mentality of playing down to your competition, because with Denver having Jeff Driscoll having to come into the game, the Steelers should have been able to run away with that game. There was a couple of turnovers. Roethlisberger threw a pick. Benny Snell fumbled, which kind of allowed Denver to kind of make it a close game. And Denver could have won the game, But Steelers were able to come away with the victory, and the Steelers definitely look like, a top 5 team right now in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt, especially with that defense. Pittsburgh is looking really promising so far, and maybe they'll be able to challenge the Ravens in the AFC North.
If it's anybody, it's the Steelers,
We'll definitely look forward to those games.
No, I cannot wait to see, especially now with Ben coming back.
One of those Steelers-Ravens is just one of those series where it's a must-watch every time, no matter.
Absolutely,
what
can't wait for the Thanksgiving game too. Hopefully, there'll be fans at Heinz Field for that. I believe it's at Heinz Field.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Deontay Johnson, these couple of stats for the game. Deontay Johnson for the Steelers, 8 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And Chase Claypool had a big play in the game. He went 3 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was for 84 yards. So, hey, you know what? No Antonio Brown, no problem. So hopefully he steps up and is that guy. So, and kind of takes the pressure off of Juju Smith-Schuster, because obviously he's looked at as the number 1 guy. And James Conner, hey, had a pretty good game on the ground. 16 carries for 106 yards. And he had a touchdown. So, the Steelers, pretty good win for them.
That's a good sign, definitely, for Pittsburgh. The first time, actually, the Steelers and Ravens play each other will be week 6, I believe. So not too far away until we'll see these two face off in what will probably be the number 1 and 2 spots in the AFC North. Kenny, into the 4 o'clock slate. A shocker out west. Take a listen to this.
Let's watch.
They're all gassed right now. No energy left for anybody on this field.
The kick. It's good for the win. 58 yards. Harrison Butker for the second time from long distance. And Kansas City takes it in overtime, 23-20.
Yeah, that was a great game. Obviously, going into the game, we all anticipated that Tyrod Taylor was going to start for the Chargers, and that wasn't the case. The rookie Justin Herbert, he got the start. Tyrod Taylor had chest pains, chest injury, was having trouble breathing. Supposedly before the game.
That's frightening. And I mean, we heard nothing about Tyrod Taylor.
It was a shock to everybody. But you know what? Herbert, he played a great game, going 22 of 33, 311 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a pick, which was a kind of a rookie mistake, but you know what? That's going to happen. He tried to do a Patrick Mahomes type throw, but that didn't really work out for him on the pick. But you know, the Chargers dominated this game early, and it really
did.
And for a while there, it looked like the Chiefs maybe were going to lose that game. And all of a sudden, you know, just out of nowhere, and you saw it all last year in the playoffs, the offense just exploded in the final quarter, scoring 11 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable. I mean, that throw to Tyreek Hill, basically set up the 2-point conversion.
That was incredible. I mean, only Patrick Mahomes can make a play like that.
Yeah, it was just for 54 yards and for the touchdown, and then obviously they got the 2-point conversion to Mecole Hardman. I mean, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. In my opinion, I know the Ravens, but right now, with this guy quarterback, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. And we're you know what? You can't say we're going to find out who's the best team in the NFL next Monday night. Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens. So that's going to be a great game. I cannot wait for that. Surprised it's on a Monday night. You know, you would think it'd be a Nance Romo game or on Sunday night, but this is on Monday night. So, you know, it's going to be a great game. I cannot wait for that. But really, this game was just, I mean, again, for a while, we just thought, you know, the Chargers, divisional opponent, Justin Herbert was making some great throws. And it's crazy because Anthony Lynn, the head coach, after the game says if Tyrod is healthy, he's the starter.
Unbelievable. I don't know how, after that performance, you can say that comfortably that Tyrod Taylor's your starter. Obviously, no offense to Tyrod, okay? Like, I mean, he's had some bright spots in what's been unfortunately, you know, more of a bench warmer career for him. But, I mean, I would start Justin Herbert in a heartbeat after that. I would. I mean,
the offense just looked a lot better with him.
And not to mention, the Chargers have their own nice running back duo. Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly out of UCLA. I mean, those two have been doing really good on the ground. You know, obviously, Keenan Allen.
Mike Williams and Hunter Henry. I mean, they got a lot of weapons, and you just got to get the ball into the hands of your playmakers. And you know, last week against the Bengals, you know, Tyrod really wasn't that effective. He just was not. He struggled, and Justin Herbert was able to get the ball to where it needed to be, and guys made plays. And I think you got to go with Herbert. You have to. But
Yeah, exactly, Kenny. And you know, with they took Herbert obviously with their first pick, the Chargers did, and you know, now Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and when does Tua Tagovailoa make his debut for the Dolphins? It's gonna happen this year. We just don't know when. At least I think it'll happen. I mean, it all depends.
I think it definitely will happen at some point.
Yeah, it all depends on
probably late in the season.
What Ryan Fitzpatrick does. comment quick, too. The Arizona Cardinals look legit this year.
Yeah, I think they are a legit team.
Kyler Murray has come alive. DeAndre Hopkins is a huge weapon now on this offense. Didn't have a great week, but still 8 for 68 with a touchdown. You can't go wrong with that. Hey, hopefully they make a playoff run with Larry Fitz his last season. So that'd be something, huh? That'd be
You would think
good.
it's his last season.
Or does he come back yet again? Who knows? Yeah, who knows with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Washington's offense, defensively, they played great against the Eagles, but obviously with the more mobile quarterback and Kyler Murray, they struggled because Kyler Murray had, I think, 2 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. And the offense has struggled. Haskins, he's been okay. Nothing to, brag about, but he's definitely got some improvements that he has to make to his game. Wondering if Alex Smith is ever going to be activated this season. But you know what? I think it was just a bad matchup for the defensive front for the Redskins. I think Kyler Murray had his way with them. Like I said, being more of the mobile quarterback as opposed to Wentz, who is mobile, but not Kyler Murray mobile. But yes, Cardinals look legit. They definitely look like a playoff team. The defense has improved. Definitely curious to see how this team will be when they go up against Seattle and the Rams this year. I think that'll definitely tell us a lot as to where this team is going to go. And then obviously you had the final 4 o'clock game, which was just a snooze fest. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans, and the Ravens winning that game 33-16. That just shows you the directions in which each team is going. The Texans are on their way down. The Ravens, them and the Chiefs are the 2 best teams in the AFC right now, and they're going at it Monday night.
Bring it on. They're going to go at it Monday night. These are obviously the front runners in the AFC. Nobody else, I think, is really going to touch these two, at least not from what I've seen through 2 weeks. And then to cap off the night, how about this?
This is it.
Fullback's going to shift to be the lead blocker. Here we go.
Cam is going to take it himself, and he doesn't get in. And the Seahawks are going to win the game. Line up with a power formation, and you got L.J. Collier and Leno Hill are the 2 guys who are there.
How about that? The Patriots and the Seahawks in another close matchup.
Yeah, and I've lost every single one of those games in terms of just saying who I think's going to win or with the spreads. On that last call, it did, obviously with the fake crowd noise, it looked, like fans were there. Well, it sounded like fans were there. So that was, nice to listen to that call as, it's like fans are actually there, but they're really not. That was a great game. My takeaways from that is, well, first off, what I want to say is obviously the news before the game. James White, running back for the Patriots, parents were in a tragic car accident with James White's father passing away, and as of right now, his mother is still in critical condition. So that was definitely some very unfortunate news to hear prior to the game. James White obviously did not play in the game. Players around the league were reacting to it. It just sucks. It really sucks. This year continues to just really amaze us with all the terrible things that keep coming our way. And we're hoping for nothing but the best in that situation. So that was unfortunate. But the game.
Our condolences out to the White family for sure.
Yeah. So, but definitely with the game, I mean, the game was just unbelievable. If you're a Patriots fan, despite the loss, you definitely have to feel very encouraged by Cam Newton. The offense looks really good for the Patriots. It looks a lot better. It looks better than it has with Tom Brady from the past 2 years. Cam Newton had a great game. This was probably one of his best games in a long time. Throwing for 397, a touchdown, had 2 rushing, one passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 47 yards on the ground, and also had that interception. And Julian Edelman, of course, had a great game. 8 receptions for 179 yards. Devin McCourty had the pick 6 in the beginning, and you thought, hey, the Patriots might come away with this. But, the guy on the other side, Russell Wilson, he right now looks like, albeit in 2 games, but he looks like could be the MVP this season. This might be the year where Russell Wilson finally wins the MVP. Throwing for 288 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was amazing. Right now, the 2 best teams in the NFC is definitely Seattle and Green Bay, I think. I think we'll get to the Saints game later in a little, well, after this game, but right now the 2 best teams are Seattle and Green Bay. Russell Wilson is unbelievable. Whenever it's him taking off and running it, or just, throwing up a prayer, because there was a couple of times where you're like, how did these guys catch that? The touchdown to Metcalf. Metcalf was able to, catch it over Stephon Gilmore, their best defensive back for the Patriots. Then obviously there was the bomb to, I think it was David Moore, which, that was another prayer. And then obviously he got hit as he threw it, the touchdown pass to Chris Carson. Russell Wilson is unbelievable. And honestly, it was only fitting that once again, the final play came down to the 1-yard line between these 2 teams. It's unbelievable that we keep getting to this point with these 2 teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's happened in the past before.
It's just unbelievable that it always comes down to the 1-yard line. It's just crazy.
This is becoming almost like a quote unquote a new historical rivalry.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say so? Yeah. It's the Patriots and the Seahawks, when they've gotten together over the last, 4 years. It's been some great matchups and memorable ones. 4 years, I should say 5, because of Super Bowl 49. Yeah, but seriously, what is Russell Wilson eating? Because this guy is on fire. 5 touchdowns, 288 yards, all right? He had 1 to Metcalf, 1 to Tyler Lockett, David Moore, Chris Carson, Freddie Swain, which we don't know who that was, Sunday night. Unbelievable by Russell Wilson. And another 72 on the ground for Chris Carson, and 22 for Carlos Hyde, 21 for Travis Homer. So a lot of mixing with the Seahawks play calls, and I like that. And this is also something to mention, Kenny. Pete Carroll on the Seahawks sideline. I didn't really know this until the NFL put a statement, and you told me yesterday that the NFL is cracking down on head coaches not wearing masks. So Pete Carroll was not during last night's game, or Sunday night's game, I should say. And $100 fine went his way. And as we'll get into in a little while, too, also to John Gruden and Sean Payton last night in the Monday night game. So obviously, great to see the NFL, taking that regard of the game seriously about the safety.
Yeah, when they put out that statement, and when I saw John Gruden with his mask off, and Sean Payton, you said, yeah, I was like, well, they're getting fined, and that's exactly what happened. But yeah, overall, the Sunday night game, that was a great game. Definitely one of the games of the year so far. Patriots, you definitely got to be encouraged by what you saw from Cam Newton. The defense is definitely concerning. And next week for both teams, the Seahawks take on the Dallas Cowboys. I'll be rooting like hell for the Seahawks to win that game, get the Cowboys back to a losing record. And the Patriots will be taking on the 2-0 Las Vegas Raiders, who beat the Saints last night. Perfect segue. Beat the New Orleans Saints last night, the team that I said would win the Super Bowl, and that definitely took a hit last night. 34-24 Raiders over the Saints. And Derek Carr, proving the doubters wrong, going for 28 of 38, 282 and 3 touchdowns. He looked great. And obviously, a big player in the game other than Derek Carr was who been traded in one of our fantasy leagues, Darren Waller. 12 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. He looked amazing last night.
You had to bring that up.
Of course I did. Of course you did. Of course I did. George Kittle is out, but this guy decides, you know what? I don't need Waller. Got to get rid of him. So, yeah, the Raiders looked really good. The Saints' defense looked, after the first quarter, they looked awful. So that's definitely concerning. Drew Brees, threw for 312 and a touchdown, but he had a horrendous interception right before the half. Age is definitely catching up to Drew Brees right now. And you could argue that Michael Thomas was out and that was a huge loss, but I think even with Michael Thomas, Drew Brees is really, this is it for him. I think it is, and it's pretty much it after this year. He's got the TV deal, so he's going to be going into broadcasting, but, the Saints don't push the ball down the field. And I think the Raiders were able to exploit that, and the offense for the Saints really never really found a rhythm after they jumped out to that 10-0 lead. And that's a problem for them. If this team really wants to go to the Super Bowl, they got to be able to do that, and they're not. And they're not going to be able to win games dinking and dunking against these better teams. They got a big game against the Packers next week to try to get themselves back on track, but that was kind of a concerning loss for them, especially of how bad the defense played. But if you're the Raiders, hey, 2-0. And next week, you're going up against the Patriots, so it doesn't get any easier, but they look good. The defense for the Raiders is horrible. But you know what? Hey, they're 2-0, and John Gruden's got this team playing really well. And let's see what happens.
The Raiders. That's right. They're 2-0. And got to be happy if you're a Las Vegas Raiders fan. Not to mention they opened their new stadium last night. That's another new stadium that the NFL's opened up now this season.
Allegiant Stadium.
Allegiant, not Allegiance, but Allegiant. For anyone who was confused, that was not you, Kenny. You know what? That could be an early, an early game of the week next week in the 1:00 hour. Because next to Rams, Bills, Raiders, Patriots, I tell you what, those could be some of the best early games next week. The line, for anyone who's interested, is 6.5 for the Patriots, which I think that's heavy. I think you got to consider the Raiders. I wrote off the Raiders myself. I thought Carolina could have beaten them week 1, but that Panthers defense obviously isn't that good. So they ended up winning that game. Derek Carr, 28 of 38, 282 with 3 touchdowns last night. What else can you ask for? That's a great night for Derek Carr. And in my eyes, Derek Carr has always been one of those quarterbacks that's just been middle of the road, I think a lot of people would say that. But last night, he stepped up, and he really showed that, he can be that guy, that, the guy that the Raiders need. And like I said, Darren Waller, 12 catches, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. Justin Blicht, of course. Of course he had to get... Yeah, of course he got him.
Well, you're the one
me.
that traded him. You could have easily kept him.
I know. I should have kept him, but you know me, Kenny. Yet again, fantasy. Yeah, that's the first time I've said that this year, by the way. The Raiders, what do you think, though? Are they legit 2-0? Or is this a little premature?
I think their offense is legit. Their defense is definitely still pathetic.
Agreed.
They definitely need some pass rushers. They definitely need some guys that can cover wide receivers, which every defense needs. But their offense is legit. I think as long as they can put up points, they'll be in every game. But their defense is definitely a lot to be desired. And that's my take on them. But beating a team like the Saints is huge. And that definitely gives these guys a lot of confidence. And that could take them a long way. So we'll see what happens. If you think about it, Derek Carr, he was an MVP candidate before he got hurt in 2016. And then a couple of mediocre years, and now this looks like the year where he's back to looking like that same guy.
Yeah, and it's good. I love seeing Derek Carr, doing good, because I've always been a fan of, Derek Carr. And Raider Nation, not to mention, they're just one of the most electric fan bases
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that they weren't in attendance last night. Hopefully next year.
I know. We need
maybe
that.
later in the year, things change.
We need that energy. For
yeah.
Sure.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss the MLB playoffs are coming up next week. We'll talk about basketball and the NBA playoffs, where all that stuff is at with the conference finals, and maybe a little bit of the Stanley Cup. So stick around. We'll be right back for the last half hour here on Infinite Sports Radio.
Q.
All right, and we're back here on Infinite Sports Radio for the last 25 minutes of the show. So obviously, MLB playoffs, they start next week. Obviously, the matchups haven't been finalized yet, but teams have punched their ticket into the postseason. The Dodgers, the Rays, the Yankees. So as of right now, if the playoffs did start today, the Yankees will be taking on their old friends, the Minnesota Twins, in the first round. And it looks like that's probably going to be the matchup for them, which will be a best of 3. So that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, with the past success, you still don't want to underestimate the Twins. So definitely going to be a tough series. But I think the Yankees will be able to do that, and then who knows what's going to happen after that. But it's just crazy how the playoffs are right around the corner. And we were talking about this over the past couple of weeks, how, it feels like the season just started, which it did. But obviously, in these times now with the abridged season, the regular season is ending and the postseason is about to start. And we might have some fans at some point, which will be really nice. Looking at the scores around the league right now, the Phillies and the Nationals are just finished the 6th inning. It's tied 6-6. The White Sox and the Indians are tied in the top of the 9th inning, 1-1. The Yankees at the end of 6 are up 7-1 over the Blue Jays. The Brewers are up on the Cincinnati Reds, who are now over 500. They are up 3-2. That's a huge series for both of them, trying to get that last wild card spot.
Yeah, Reds, I think, have a 1-game cushion right now for that second wild card spot. I think they're up in that. But yeah, I think they have a 1 game. It's 1 game that they have that advantage.
Yeah, and the Pirates, who are out of the playoff hunt, been out for a while, are up 2 over the Cubs.
Meaningless game for them.
The Mets, which is kind of huge for the Yankees if they still want to somehow win the division, which probably won't happen, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Are up on the Rays 2-1. The Braves are up 2-0 over the Marlins. The Red Sox are up 3-1 over the Orioles. The Tigers are Tigers are tied with the Twins 1-1, top of the 4th. Cardinals 2-0 over the Royals, top of the 2nd. And we got the Angels versus the Padres at 9-10. The Astros and the Mariners. The Rangers against the D-backs. This should be a good series. Athletics Dodgers.
That game's on ESPN tonight.
Oh, okay.
Tune in for that.
And then we got the Rockies and the Giants.
Yes.
All on after the show concludes.
And the Braves, just to throw it out there, they can clinch the NL East with a win over the Marlins tonight. So they won't be popping champagne, unfortunately, because the MLB is going against those alcoholic celebrations, which, boo. I don't like that. But you know what? I get it. It's 2020. COVID's a reality right now. So,
yep.
Good for the Braves, though. They've had a great year. I expect them to make a run here in the playoffs. But you know what? With no fans and it's baseball, who the heck knows what's going to happen, right? This could be a wacky postseason for all.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then also to look at the other teams that clinched, obviously Tampa Bay and the Yankees have both clinched playoff spots. The White Sox have clinched a playoff spot along with the Minnesota Twins, so that's very nice to see. Definitely a long time since they last made the playoffs. I think the last time they made it, I think, what was it, the World Series? I don't know, because I know they were fighting for the division in game 163 against the Twins in 08, 09, I think it was. Not 100% sure.
But, I'm not sure either. I don't remember.
But it's definitely been a long time since they made the playoffs. And the A's, they clinched. They they're definitely going to be a force in the playoffs. Obviously, losing Matt Chapman is huge. And then the San Diego Padres also made the playoffs as well. And they definitely look like a team that's going to be tough and definitely going to give some teams problems with that lineup. Obviously, with Fernando Tatis and Will Myers and Manny Machado, that team's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with and definitely could pose a huge threat to a lot of teams that made the playoffs last year, such as the Braves and the Dodgers, most notably. So, and then obviously looking at the NL Central, the Cubs got a 4.5 game lead over the Cardinals and the Reds. Looks like they're definitely going to clinch that division. So, it's coming down to the final week, and it's really going to be crazy to see if anybody's going to make any last second attempts to make the playoffs. But it's going to be different this year, to say the least, how the playoffs are going to be. And obviously 2 weeks ago, we as the Yankee fans, we thought the Yankees were, at one point I thought the Yankees weren't going to make the playoffs because 21-21, it just did not look good. But they've won 10 of their last 12, obviously dropping their last 2 games. But you know what? Hey, their team's healthy. It looks like the bullpen's kind of turned it around. The starting pitching has been a lot better. So, you know what? Let's see. Can they finally put it all together and win the championship? We'll have to see. But it's going to be tough. There's a lot of good teams this year. The Rays definitely proved to be the better team this year. The Yankees going 2-8 against them. The White Sox look like a really good team. The A's look like a really good team. It's going to be tough. It's going to be the Twins are a good team. The Blue Jays have been pesky. It's going to be tough for the Yankees. Do I think they could do it? I don't want to say yes, but of course I'm not going to say no because I want them to get there. But we'll have to see. Obviously, looking at their home and away records, they got a 21-7 record at home and then a 10-16 record on the road. And then with teams over 500, they're 8-13 against them this year. Those aren't good. Those aren't good numbers going into the playoffs. Obviously, seeing how this team in years past has struggled in opposing teams' ballparks, most notably Houston, that's not encouraging to see. And they're obviously not going to have home field advantage. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah, and, well, Kenny, the Yankees have won 10 out of their last 12, looking like it'll be 11 out of 13. Assuming they hang on to win up 7-1 tonight against Toronto. The Yankees always seem to get a September run and carry momentum into the playoffs, but like we've mentioned, the last 3 years, we've just petered out, to say the least. 2 ALCS appearances and a DS appearance as well in 2018. That's it. Haven't been to a World Series since 2009. The Yankees have had the pieces in place each of these last 3 years. 2018, they ran to a really good Red Sox team, of course, but
you really like that Red Sox team.
Hey, look. The Red Sox look pretty darn good in 2018. All right, the Yankees lost to a really good team, but in 17 and 19, they definitely could have beaten the Astros. Definitely could have.
Yeah.
They're well, and plus with the whole scandal, who the heck knows what they were doing. So, but besides that, hopefully, the Yankees can find their way in the postseason again. Like you said, they've had the Twins number, but they can't sleep on them this year. The Twins are actually a really nice team yet again this year. It won't be an easy walk in the park like it was last year for the Yankees in the division series. But, I feel good about the Yankees. I know I sound like a broken record every time this year.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling good, at least where they are right now. Now, I understand that, they're not going to win the East. They're going to have to go to Minnesota for those wild card games. But you got to feel good that the Yankees have really come around here the last 2 weeks after what looked like they were absolutely dead the week before that. So, goodness, they lost, was it 8 straight or 7 straight? It was something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that.
But
they were pathetic.
a long losing streak. Luckily, they've followed it up again with a nice winning streak. And Kenny, I tell you what, with the expanded playoffs that the MLB has in place now, we're not going to see not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 8 wild card games potentially on Wednesday and Thursday next week. The wild card, the expanded playoffs, everybody's playing now. All 16 teams. It's going to be crazy. And, for the first time since the 1995 World Series, now 25 years ago, there will be baseball back on ABC for the first time in 25 years.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, there will be wildcard games all day long. ESPN, ESPN2, TBS, and ABC. That first week, those first couple days, that's crazy. It's going to be like a March Madness style sort of thing. Baseball noon to midnight. So it's going to be it's going to be really crazy. Looking forward to it though.
There's a lot going on next week.
There's too much going on. Baseball. It's coming down the stretch. It's always great coming down the stretch in baseball. It's what all the buildup and all the long days and long nights of games. This is what it comes down to. And that's why baseball is always really fun in the end. And Kenny, we might as well make mention of the NBA and the NHL quick while we have the leftover time here. But the Lakers and the Nuggets continuing their series in the West Finals tonight at 9:00 on TNT. So coming up shortly. And the Heat and the Celtics in the East, they finally get back on the court after a 4-day respite for Game 4 of the East Finals. The Celtics and the Heat tomorrow at 8:30 on ESPN. And, Denver got so unlucky on Sunday in Game 2. That Anthony Davis buzzer beater was a killer. And
obviously we got it spoiled for us when our friend had to come down and spoil that for us when we were watching it, because obviously our TV was delayed from how he was watching the game.
Yeah, that's what's a bummer about the about TV delays.
Also, quick thing: the last time the White Sox made the playoffs was 2008. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Thanks for that stat nugget. That's good.
Because we weren't sure.
We love stat nuggets. So, but yes, Lakers ended up winning Game 2, 105-103. Here's the call from Brian Anderson and Reggie Miller on TNT.
As well. A lot of time here.
2.1 seconds remaining. Denver a foul to give. Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers! Anthony Davis scored as a good three-point basket. They will take a look.
Yeah, unbelievable. That shot was.
I mean, that's a killer. And that really.
And in a game where the Lakers probably shouldn't have ended up winning. They played poorly in the second half. I mean, they came out quick. Don't get me wrong. That's usually how the Lakers are. They always get off to fast starts, and that was the case on Sunday. Nikola Jokic had 30 for the Nuggets. Anthony Davis, 31, as you heard, with 9 rebounds and 2 assists. LeBron also with 26, 11, and 4, so he had his own double-double. Yeah, Lakers definitely got lucky. And I hate to call it an early end of the series, but that really took a lot of wind out of the sails for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And look, And look, they've been down 3-1, not once but twice in these playoffs in the first and second round, and they've come back. So, who's to say that
they can't do it again?
Yeah, exactly. Who's to say they can't? I think the Nuggets can claw back in the series. It's going to be tricky, and it's not going to be easy. That's for darn sure. But they have to treat tonight like a must-win. Definitely as like we mentioned, Game 3 of the West Finals tonight on TNT. Lakers 6.5-point favorites at the moment. And as for the rest of the series, Game 4 will be Thursday at 9. All these games will be on TNT for the West Finals. Game 5, if necessary, Saturday at 9. Game 6, if necessary, will be Monday, probably at 9. And then, if necessary, a Game 7 would be next Wednesday, probably at 9 as well. And on the other side of things, huge win, Kenny, for the Boston Celtics.
Oh, absolutely.
In Game 3. And we remember after Game 2 when Marcus Smart came out of the locker room and he said, y'all on that BS. Not going to go into detail. The Celtics melted down after that game. And maybe they needed it because they came out in Game 3 and they performed really well. And Jason Tatum had 25 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. And on the other side for the Heat, Bam Adebayo, what a great start to the
Kemba
series.
Walker finally had a really good game.
Yes, you're right. Finally, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He shot 8 of 16.
Jaylen Brown had a good game, and obviously Gordon Hayward came back finally, which was definitely a huge plus for that team.
It's great to see Gordon Hayward back on the floor for the Boston Celtics for sure. And, the Celtics needed that win, of course. And Nuggets are in the same position, down 2-0. They desperately need a win tonight. If I had to throw out a prediction right now, I think I still like the Celtics. I still like the Celtics. I know Jimmy Butler has played great these playoffs. The Heat have been a little bit of an underdog story. I'm proud that they're here. They've really put it together in the bubble. Same with the Nuggets. I don't think we expected the Heat or the Nuggets to be in their respective conference finals at this point. I didn't. I certainly didn't. I think for now, though, you got to go with the Lakers and the Celtics. And I would love to see that matchup in the finals.
Heat Nuggets. Make it happen.
The underdogs. The underdogs. I like it. No, I mean, even Heat Nuggets, that'd be an interesting
but
finals.
I'm a little different. I think it's going to be, as of right now, I think it's going to be Miami Lakers, as of right now. Subject to change, obviously, but
okay. I
just think that, the Heat, for the most part, they really haven't had a stinker playoff game yet. They've been in relatively every single game. I mean, obviously they beat up on the Bucks in the last round. I forget who they played in the first round. They played the Pacers. They swept the Pacers, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. Heat swept the Pacers. Yeah. So, the Celtics are but they are inconsistent at times. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely going to be their downfall. This series is definitely going to go 7 games, I think. I definitely don't see the Celtics falling behind 3-1. I don't see that happening. I think this is going to be a back and forth, and I think it is going to go 7 games. As opposed to the Lakers Nuggets, I think after the Anthony Davis buzzer beater, I think I think for the most part that's a wrap. I don't see the Lakers, if it gets to that point, blowing a 3-1 lead, especially LeBron. I don't see LeBron blowing a 3-1 lead. I think LeBron's going to get there, and I think it's going to come down to LeBron's old team and LeBron's new team. I think it's going to be Heat Lakers. I would love to see it be Celtics Lakers, obviously with the history, obviously going way back to, Magic and Larry Bird, and then obviously, between the Celtics big 3 and Kobe and Paul Gasol and Derek Fisher, going back to those days, but we'll see what happens. These series are definitely the Nuggets aren't going to go away. They're definitely going to put up a fight, but I think they got to rely. I think Jamal Murray needs to have another one of those 40-point games. Jokic has been unbelievable in these playoffs. So those guys got to score more than 25 points is still good, but they got to score more because obviously going up against LeBron and Anthony Davis, they got to bring it to them, and they definitely got a game stolen from them. So we'll see how they respond tonight. But both of these series should come down to at least 6 games.
Definitely.
And if not, push to 7,
Definitely. I would hope the Nuggets could put up a fight in this series and make it interesting, and I think they will. We'll see what happens, though. Like we said, Game 3 coming up shortly on TNT. And then to wrap up the show tonight, Kenny, we have a Stanley Cup final going on, don't we? Between the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have already played a couple games of the Cup final, which began back on Saturday. And it's really been polar opposite games for both of these teams over the first couple games. In Game 1, the Stars dominated, without a doubt. Goals from Joel Kiviranta and Jamie Oleksiak, the headliners. Joel Kiviranta's had a great playoffs for the Stars. And overall, the Stars' top line has been great. Alexander Radulov, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Joe Pavelski, everybody on this team. Anton Hudobin's been incredible, too. In Game 1, he made some incredible saves. 35 of 36 in that department. He only let 1 goal go through the net. And the Stars ended up taking that game 4-1. And then last night in Game 2 of the Cup final, the Lightning, they hung on. They were up 3-0 after the first period. And then Dallas worked their way back into it. But
so far, a pretty good series.
Yes, it actually has been a pretty good series so far. I said Lightning in 7 at the beginning. I'm holding strong on that. Glad to see, of course, Pavelski score for the Stars last night. But on the other end, Andre Palat, Braden Point, and Kevin Shattenkirk. The Shattenkirk's goal last night was just he basically flicked it toward the net and it just went in. That's just one of those goals in hockey. Pretty crazy. Kenny, who do you think's going to hang on in this series?
Well,
who will raise Lord Stanley's Cup?
Well, first, what I want to say is obviously, rest in peace to the Islanders' 2020 season. It was definitely disappointing that they couldn't mount a comeback in the series, but they played hard. Obviously, falling out of a playoff spot before all the craziness happened with the pandemic, and then coming into the bubble and really just playing great. Looked like a completely different team. Looked really refreshed and energized, and Barry Trotz had this team well prepared for it. And, they just ran into a better team. So, and obviously watching the series up close, I say the Lightning. Obviously, we're going into Game 3. The series is tied. I'm with you. I think Lightning in 7.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. The Stanley Cup Final, of course, continues with Game 3 tomorrow on NBCSN. Games 4 through 7 will be all on NBC. Game 4 is Friday. Game 5 Saturday. Game 6, if necessary, would be Monday. And then Game 7, if necessary, would be next Wednesday. Kenny, before you wrap it tonight, quick shout-outs. The U.S. Open was this past weekend at Wingfoot, a golf club in Mamaroneck, New York, which is right down the road, basically, about an hour away from here. Shout-out to Bryson DeChambeau. Incredible weekend of golf. 6 shots he won by. That's incredible. Finished at -6. Matthew Wolff, the 21-year-old, unfortunately could not hang on in the end. He fell apart just like everybody else did on Sunday. It was only Bryson DeChambeau who succeeded on the course on Sunday. He shot a final round 67. So hats off to Bryson DeChambeau. His first major, and great to see him being so good right now in golf. He's been driving the ball great. And finally, NASCAR playoffs. My guy Kevin Harvick's won 2 playoff races.
That's right.
Woo-hoo. At Bristol and I can't think what was the first track. Darlington. That's right. Where he's been so successful in his career. So the NASCAR playoffs down to the round of 12 this weekend. Hopefully Kevin Harvick can make it all the way to the championship 4 in Phoenix in November. We'll see how it goes. So
to take on Dynaco.
Just had to get that out there. So yeah. Woo.
All right, so a good way to end off. So that's all the time we got for tonight. Thank you for listening. If you spent the full 2 hours with us, we greatly appreciate it. We'll be back next Tuesday.
Debate Tuesday.
That's right. Can't wait for that. Anyways, so thank you for joining us. Have a good night. We'll see you next time. I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder, along with Ben Upson, saying so long. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Peace out.